Will China's censorship mean game over for the country's video game industry? I will tell you why I asked that question. Have you heard of Black Myth Wukong? Well, it's a Chinese video game, one that has just been released. This game is inspired by a 16th century Chinese epic, Journey to the West. The visuals are great. There is celebration of Chinese culture. There are shape-shifting apes, monsters, a monkey king. Gamers, in fact, are really impressed. They have picked up over 10 million copies within 3 days of the game's release. A tally earlier this week found that at least 2.2 million people are playing this game on a platform called Steam. And reports say employees in China have been given time off to play this game. But outside China, this game is also making headlines for all the wrong reasons. For censorship. Let me tell you what we are talking about. So, video game reviewers and influencers were given early access to the game. They were basically sent the game along with a document listing do's and don'ts. Now, these were not instructions for playing the game, but instructions on what not to mention when promoting the game. I'm quoting, "Do not include politics." That's what the memo demanded. Adding, and I'm quoting again, "Do not use trigger words like quarantine or isolation or COVID-19. And there's more, by the way. The influencers were also told to not discuss content related to China's game industry policies, opinions, news, etc. And there was something else China demanded of them. I'm quoting, "Do not talk about feminist propaganda." The question is, who sent that long list? Hero Games. This is a Beijing-based company responsible for marketing this game, which, by the way, has been developed by a Tencent-backed company named Game Science. Now, netizens are slamming China. One of them titled his live stream as "COVID-19 isolation, Taiwan is a real country, feminist propaganda," quote unquote. And people commented on his live stream by talking about issues, events, and things that China is basically allergic to. The Tiananmen Square massacre, for example. Apparently, such directives are pretty common in China. Chinese companies tell influencers to not talk about COVID-19 when promoting their products. Many of them are bound by contracts that expect influencers or reviewers to not talk about politics or current events. But this is the first time such kind of Chinese censorship is making headlines around the world in the context of a video game. Can you blame the media? What's happened is bizarre. But then who will explain that to China? Beijing claims the West is using the game to attack China. Let me read out for you what the Chinese mouthpiece Global Times wrote in a recent article. I'm quoting, "Their strategy of attacking the game is just the same old Western tactic, politicizing every Chinese achievement, even in the realm of gaming," quote unquote. And look at the headline from China Daily. I'm quoting, "Hit Chinese video game builds pride, subdues prejudice," quote unquote. Now remember, this is the same country that had cracked down on the domestic video game economy by issuing guidelines on the need to limit a child's exposure to video games. It had told parents not to let their children play video games beyond certain number of hours. In fact, China had also suspended approvals of new video games for about 8 months. This was in the year 2021. And in 2023, China's National Press and Publication Administration had proposed regulations limiting the amount of money and time that people spent on video games. The amount of time and money that people spent on video games. Now, things have changed. Black Myth Wukong has become China's first AAA game. This is a classification basically used to describe games that are high profile and also high in budget. Also often a great success. China sees an opportunity here, an opportunity to dominate, spread propaganda, rake in some profits, perhaps also play some video game diplomacy, which explains why the Chinese state media CCTV ran a special show on this game. Chinese state-run agency Xinhua ran a long interview with the developers of the game. Let's not forget, It's a $217+ billion global video gaming industry out there, and China could really use a share of this revenue to one-up its economy. And what's more, China could also use the medium to up its censorship game. But in the process, will the close association with Beijing actually mean game over for China's video game industry is the question. To stay up to speed with the latest news, download the WION app and subscribe to our YouTube channel.